Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and in today's video I'm going to be teaching you how to min-max your speed clearing Conqueror farming strategies for patch 3.9. So my current Atlas strategy at the moment is to power through as many Conquerors as possible, kill Cyrus as quickly as possible, and then do the process again. Now, it's unclear whether this is the most profitable approach, but I figured out many ways to make this very quick, easy, and fun. So a lot of the downsides of the new Atlas is that you cannot run any of the maps that you want due to the fact that to get the most out of the Atlas, you will need a fully awakened Atlas. This strategy will take you through how to kind of like take advantage of all the big benefits while kind of mitigating a lot of the downsides. So let's get into this strategy. To start off with, we're going to go through what you'll need. You're going to need a character that can clear T16 fully awakened maps. So that means awaken level 8 with, all the monster life, all of the mods, all that kind of stuff. You'll also need a character that can kill the boss and metamorph and have that character be the same one that can clear the maps. It doesn't work too well alt-tabbing between characters or relogging just so you can kill the boss to take advantage of the Awakener. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a speed clear build. You can take anything in there like a Summoner, you can take in like Cast on Crit, you can take in every single kind of build. As long as you can take out the boss, the metamorph, and the Awakener kind of like influenced maps, you're going to be good to go. Obviously though, I will mention that the faster you clear these maps, the more kind of Awakener level 8 procs or triggers you will get, meaning more Guardians, more Synthesis maps, more Elder Guardians, all that kind of stuff, more Conqueror spawns, all that kind of stuff. So obviously the traditional kind of speed clear mappers will still be very powerful if you can take them to a level which can clear these maps, but of course if you need to take it down a little bit of a notch and use like a build that you enjoy or a build that is kind of like very tanky so you don't die, that is completely fine as well. It just might impact your bottom line a little bit at the end of the day. So nextly, you will need a character that can kill the Conquerors with 4 Watchstones at Awakening level 8. This doesn't need to be the same character, but of course that is a benefit as it will prevent you from swapping characters. Having said that though, it might be an idea to kind of like build an ultimate speed character that can kill the boss, the metamorph, and the map, and then have something that's a little bit slower but with lots of boss damage to kill Cyrus and the Conquerors. That's definitely an option as well. Lastly, it's a benefit to have a character that can kill Cyrus yourself on Awakening level 8. Of course, you can pay someone else to kill your Cyrus, and that is definitely an option, but that will kind of impact your kind of profit at the end of the day, as Cyrus does not have a guarantee that he's always going to drop like a loot which is worth currency. A lot of the time, he will just drop one unique, and that unique might be the helmet, which is like 1C. However, other times he might obviously drop like an Awakened Gem, the Awakener's Orb, all that kind of stuff, which is worth an absolute ton, but you don't want to risk all of that kind of stuff if you're like hiring someone else and have to pay them like 50C and then nothing drops, because then you're going to be losing currency instead of gaining it. So definitely beneficial to have a character that can kill Cyrus. Next, you want to have probably an Awakener level 8 Atlas. As you all probably know, an Awakener level 8 Atlas means more bonuses, more chance at like Shape of Guardian maps and all that kind of stuff. But you don't actually need to complete the storyline to do this. After you get 16 Watchstones, and possibly even before, you can actually kind of create Watchstones by buying them off other players to kind of fast track your way to Awakener level 8. And I'll show you guys what I mean by that. So of course, you have the option of using Ivory Watchstones. So Ivory Watchstones are a bit of a shortcut to Awakening level 8, as you can replace normal Watchstones with them and kind of bypass having to farm those Conquerors. Having said that, though, obviously this is a Conqueror farming strategy, but this will kind of give you a bit of a shortcut to get into Awakening level 8 and farming those Conquerors at an optimal level a little bit quicker if you want to use the Ivory ones. Those are pretty cheap as well, definitely not too much currency involved. And of course, you want to kind of maximize your Atlas bonus as much as possible. The higher the better, it'll give you more options when we talk about the mapping section. Finally, let's get to maps. To start off with, you probably do want to have a little bit of a map pool before you get started, as running random maps is definitely not optimal for this kind of strategy. You want a map with a purpose, and that purpose is to spawn Conquerors as quickly as possible, and doing that will allow you to kind of like make maximum currency and maximum Conquerors per hour. But the best way to do this is actually by laser focusing in on one specific sector. So let's get started on the mapping kind of section here. So of course we have the full atlas split up into 8 sectors, and each of these sectors has different amounts of maps in them, and each of these maps will be different tiers. So overall, with a fully socketed atlas, any map on the atlas can pretty much drop at any time, ignoring special rules with the Awakening kind of like level 8 stuff. Obviously those drop adjacent maps, but otherwise any map is fair game. So of course, how do we map really quickly on really good layouts, only the fun ones, without having to run all these trash ones like cells and a lava chamber? So let's go through that. Initially, the first thing you're going to want to do is, of course, set up 8 tabs, each for the different sectors. So of course, I've got Valor's Rest, Lex Proxima, all that kind of stuff like that. This is a really good way to kind of be able to focus and kind of like visualize your map pool for a certain area, and it's definitely going to pay dividends in the long run, as this is the best way I've come up with to kind of really target farm and really power through maps as quickly as possible using Awakening level 8. So to begin with, let's say we're going to pick on Lyra Arthane. Here you can see that I have an absolute ton of maps here from Lyra Arthane, and I've decided exactly which maps that I want. The way I did this is by quickly going over, you can use this spreadsheet as well, I'll link it in the description, but I went over to this spreadsheet here and I looked at the maps in each of the sectors. After I did this, I took a look and only picked out the maps that I wanted to run. As you can see here, I shortened the list quite a lot, and you can see my actual run list here is significantly smaller. So you can see here for Lyra Arthane, I'm only going to run like Dark Forest, Toxic Sewer, Estuary, Siege, and then I got a few here which I might run like Arachnid Tomb if I really have to or want to. I'm just testing that one out. So when I'm going to go and grab my maps here, I'm going to go to the map tab, and if I want to type in Lyra Arthane, I can kind of take a look here by typing this in at all the maps available to me for Lyra Arthane. So this is basically what I do. So I'm saying Lyra Arthane. Okay, I'm going to go through, grab all my maps for Lyra Arthane, which I want to run. So that's all the ones for here. I actually came through and did this earlier. But yeah, no more there. So I've got all of them for Lyra Arthane. I'm going to put them in the Lyra Arthane tab. And then I'll do the same for like New Vastia, Hayward Hamlet, all that kind of stuff. And then once I've separated all of the maps into this like kind of respective tabs, then the next thing I do is I go through here and I actually grab all the maps that I don't like running. So if we go through here, like T14, what are some of the ones I don't like running? I don't like running, actually these are all pretty good. Residence, for example, I don't like Residence, I don't like Wasteland, Villa, and I don't like Sunken City. So after I find ones that I don't like, after separating them, I'm actually going to just full on Horizon these all into something that I do like. So currently with Horizon Orbs, there's a very limited amount of maps that can roll from them. This, however, is changing in the next patch, and any map of that tier will be able to roll. So this strategy will become both a little bit weaker and stronger at the same time, as you may have to use more Horizon Orbs, but you'll get a better variety of maps. So here I've rerolled all of them using 9 Horizons to the ones that I want. So it's about 2 Horizon Orbs per map. So it's about like 1C per map to re-roll, which isn't too bad. And now I have more maps that I want. And then after doing that, I'll probably have like a ton more maps that I can run. I'll put all those in their respective tabs. And then what you'll actually end up with is a bunch of organized map tabs. Now you're probably thinking, what is the point to all this? Why is this important? And I'm going to go into that right now. So to be able to effectively farm a Conqueror really quickly, you want to be doing the following. You want to chain good layout maps very quickly. We now have a massive tab of good layout maps, very, very like strong ones, and we can just kind of roll all of them at once. Alchemol, check for reflect like you normally do. It's very efficient. You're not going to be rolling maps one by one, and you can kind of do the big batch rolling that we're used to, and we can kind of get some of that back. And then the next thing is that you're able to effectively use Sextants without having to wonder, like, did I use all my charges? Where is this? All that kind of stuff like that. Since we're only running one sector, so for example, Lyra Arthane, we can kind of be like, okay, so Lyra Arthane is, where is it? It's down here. So I'm only going to be sextanting this area here, and I can kind of keep track like that. 3 maps run, next lot of Sextants. 3 maps run, next lot of Sextants. All that kind of stuff like that. Of course, like, you're not always going to be using Sextants because after the Conqueror spawns currently, you're not able to sextant after that. However, that may be changing in the future as well, and that strategy will become even better. But you can kind of really just hammer out a section until it's done. And then once the Conqueror spawns, you can take stock. If you have more maps of that area, you can stick to that same area and keep chaining similar layouts that are very quick, fast, and effective. So how is this all possible? So of course we have the Horizon Orbs, but also in this patch, we have so much map sustain, so many maps are just dropping from the Metamorph, from the map boss, from the Awakener boss, from the map itself due to the increased quantity, that you're just going to have so many maps that you can actually have such a surplus that you can choose from them. So you don't actually need to worry about over sustain or anything like that. That's just automatic. You can alch and go and over sustain at this point. So by investing more in your maps, you're actually going to have even larger selection. So far, just by doing this over and over again, I've actually gotten to the point while using Horizon Orbs where I have so many good maps of my kind of like choice, I've started to actually cull maps from my kind of acceptable running kind of pool. So for example, maybe I don't want to run Arachnid Tomb anymore, so I add that to the Horizon list, and then suddenly I'm not running Arachnid Tomb anymore. And just because my sustain is so good, I still over sustain maps and good layouts that I want to run, which is really, really insane and pretty cool. The more and more maps you run and kind of like the more you invest, the less and less bad or suboptimal layouts that you need to run. And you can kind of pick and choose which layouts you kind of want to cull from the ones you're running and add them to the reroll pool. In addition to that, obviously, the Horizon Orb is absolutely a massive boon for the strategy, so picking them up is absolutely fantastic. I believe they're still pretty affordable, but I would definitely be grabbing a bunch of these. These are pretty much like alchemy orbs now to me. I wouldn't be running maps without them. Of course, I think it's much better to invest some currency in Horizon Orbs as opposed to running a really poor layout which might take you twice as long. The actual currency investment is going to pay back way more when you get more Conquerors and more triggers of the Awakening bonus. So it's much better to invest in Horizons and getting rid of bad layouts like Lava Chamber than it is to not. And of course, the Sextants are fantastic as well. So in terms of oversustaining your maps, you want to be chiseling every map due to the fact that it's multiplied by the Awakener bonus. You also want to be alching, and you can potentially vol your maps if you want. However, this will lead to some negative sustain due to the upgrading of maps and also the addition of Reflect. Reflect is not normally a problem, but with the new Atlas and the limitations placed on current Sextants, it is a bit of an issue. After they lift the restrictions on the fact that you can't sextant while there's influence, volleying will become a lot more powerful and will be like pretty much 100% recommended, but currently I don't vol due to the fact that we have a very limited option in terms of using sextants. After that I will be, so you can easily get up to 150, 160, even 200% quantity maps after you vol, which is pretty insane indeed. In addition to that, if you want to push your map sustain even higher and really narrow down the amount of layouts that you're running, you can also choose to use Ivory Watchstones, which currently are a very, very good investment. You can add an additional mod to maps, you can add additional packs, you can like level up the map to kind of give you more T16s and stuff like that, and all that kind of stuff like that. Additionally, you can also use prophecies and sac frags and stuff like that, but it's definitely, in my opinion, not worth the hassle for those, but you might want to look into the Watchstones. So with all that said, what is the end result for us here? By separating the maps into different sectors and by focusing on only good layouts in those sectors and using the Horizon Orbs to get rid of the poor ones, we are effectively able to run only the best layouts. We are still running a variety, but we're running very clean, very good, very fast layouts with a fast track to the boss so that we can get that Awakener level 8 trigger, and of course we can get more maps per hour, more Conquerors per hour, and more currency per hour. So with all that said, hopefully you guys have picked up a few tips here. I highly recommend separating them out into this kind of fashion. It makes it so much easier to roll them all up, run them, and of course sextant your maps, and you kind of been like, okay, I've done with Lyra Arthane, move on to the next one, and you kind of cycle through them, and while you're doing that, all of them replenish and boost themselves up, and it's a pretty good feeling when you're like, man, my map pool is so big, I'm getting rid of Arachnid Tomb. That's pretty cool. So you kind of have a little bit of pseudo progression there as well. So with all that said, in terms of the actual profit, you're going to be making tons off the Awakener level 8 triggers, multiple Guardians, you'll be getting more than anyone else because you're mapping so quickly due to the fact you're only running the best layouts. In terms of the Conquerors themselves, they are kind of worth it, I would say. It's yet to be seen how powerful they are farm-wise, but I've gotten around 5 Conquerors Exalted Orbs so far, and a few Awakened Gems. I'll give you the full breakdown after I've killed about 100 of them. There'll be a video for that. And in terms of Cyrus himself, he is, of course, a true endgame boss. You can get absolutely nothing, or you can win big and you can get multiple exalts. So definitely a lot of fun to kill him, and you definitely feel a rush when you see the loot come out, because it could be a 10 exalt sword, or it could be a 1C helmet, or it could even be an awakener orb and an awakened gem, maybe even awakened chain. So it's a lot of fun to do this strategy, and I'm having an absolute blast playing a ton of different maps, as well as farming up the Conquerors. So that's going to be all for this video. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed kind of my take on how to farm the different Conquerors as quickly as possible by honing in on the best layouts in a sector. I'll see you guys in the next one. There will be plenty more. Cheers.